Hello again. This is our devotional for Wednesday. This is called Oil of Compassion, and it's based on Luke chapter 10, verses 25 through 37. Just then, a lawyer stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he said, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said to him, "What is written in the law? What do you read there?" He answered, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." And he said to him, "You have given the right answer. Do this, and you will live." But wanting to justify himself, he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell into the hands of robbers, who stripped him, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. Now by chance, a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, while traveling, came near him, and when he saw him, he was moved with pity. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, having poured oil and wine on them. Then he put him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said, 'Take care of him, and when I come back, I will repay you whatever more you spend.' Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers?" He said, "The one who showed him mercy." Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." The compassion that's shown by this Samaritan is so very physical. There's a lot of touch involved. The priest and the Levite literally socially distanced themselves from the wounded man in the ditch. Now, priests, he didn't want to defile himself. Especially, he doesn't want to go near a dead body. He doesn't want to be near blood. He doesn't want to be near these things because they could make him ritually impure. And then he can't do his duties at the temple. And then you have, the second man, the Levite, same thing. He doesn't want to get involved. He has no idea what's going on, but he doesn't want to be near a dead body. It's the Samaritan, the person who's considered much less than, the person who's considered an enemy, is the one who comes and takes care of this man's wounds. Samaritans were so reviled by the Jewish people of the day that if the shadow of a Samaritan crossed over you, you would spit on it. Just the shadow. So these were enemies. And Jesus is making the point by having it be a Samaritan, that this person is your neighbor. This is who you have to treat as well as yourself, because this person is just as worthy. It doesn't matter where he's from. It doesn't matter that he's a Samaritan. It matters that he's a person. So this Samaritan bandages the wounds of this man who's been beaten up with oil and with wine, takes the man to an inn and cares for him there. He doesn't just drop him off. He cares for him first there. Then he has to leave and provides funds for the ongoing care of this person who's a stranger. He doesn't know this man. It's a complete stranger to him. He's the one who showed mercy. Mercy is what seeks to amend the injuries and the pain. Healing so often can't happen from a distance. Compassion moves us to act, to ensure people know not just the violent side of humanity, but the other side of humanity. Now, the place we're in now gives us all new rules. There's new rules for what we can do and can't do. My daughter, as we speak, is spending her time sitting at a sewing machine making masks for us and for other people, because now they want us to wear them when we go out. We're not supposed to go near other people. The world has changed. Showing mercy and compassion now means the exact opposite. It means staying away from people. But how do we show that mercy and that compassion? Well, we've got digital means. In some cases, maybe we need to go really old school and actually start handwriting letters and cards and actually using our phones to make phone calls to people. Actually trying to just listen to one another. My family, we've been doing games at a distance online with family FaceTime calls, having family game nights. Trying to come up with anything we can to try to just share time together. But that idea of compassion and the oil of compassion, the oil being one of the simple elements used to help heal this man, that it's important to use the simple things we have around us to try to make things better for someone else. It doesn't have to be anything fancy or extravagant. It can just be simple things. Now, one of the things I'm known for making, since I do like to cook, one of which is soup. Now, soup is not complicated. What soup requires is time. Soup requires patience. You have to be willing to spend time to make the stock and cut all the vegetables and let all the ingredients cook slowly over time. In reality, soup is not hard, but it takes time. And it takes, a good eye to know when you've let it cook just long enough, when it's just right, when you've put just enough spice in it. It's not difficult work, but it requires time and patience and learning to do it. One of the other things I like to make is baklava. Now that's one that a lot of people are just mystified by. Baklava is not complicated. It's not hard. There's only a few ingredients. And I will tell you, I don't make my own phyllo dough. I buy it frozen at the store. But the filling is just nuts and some brown sugar and some coconut and a few spices. But it requires a lot of time. It takes time to layer every one of those paper thin layers and butter it and layer another layer and butter it, and add the filling at the right time and butter more layers and bake it and slice it and make syrup for it and cover it in honey and syrup. It takes time. That's really all it takes. Time and patience and a willingness to physically do that job. That's really all it takes. There's nothing mystical or magical in making it. It just requires setting aside the time to do it and having the patience and being willing to do it. Isn't that true for so many things? They don't require special knowledge. They don't require special talent. What they require is patience and time and willingness to learn from one another. So let's look at the questions. When have you been moved with pity to go toward someone in the ditch? What did you do once you got there? Being moved with pity to go toward someone when so often other people want to run the other direction. That's not always an easy thing to do, but it's an important one. Have you ever been physically cared for by a stranger? When has someone poured oil on your wounds? I think any of us who've ever ended up in a hospital in an emergency can say that we've been physically cared for by a stranger. Anytime anyone's ever been in an accident or ended up in the back of an ambulance, you're being cared for by a stranger. And it's a very different experience. It really is. To have someone, physically taking care of you and trying to fix and repair you, and you have no idea who they are. You just hope they really know what they're doing. Who has been a neighbor to you? To whom are you a neighbor? And I think right now this one's the most important. Who are our neighbors right now? And it's really important that we find our neighbors and take care of them, the people around us who need it, those who are older and shouldn't be out, those who don't have family around. Let's make sure we're finding who our neighbors are and take good care of them. That's important in these days and all the time, but especially right now. So I hope this helped a little, and I'll plan to see you real soon with another devotional. Bye-bye.